think it's crazy I'm the one who they labeled as controversial, and Cardi B is the role model for 12-year-old girls. There's rappers pushing Xanax at the top of the billboard, but if I mention race in a song, I'm scared I'll get killed for it. It's backwards, it's getting exponentially dumb. It's more difficult to get a job than purchase a gun. Eminem used to gay bash and murder his mom, and now he doesn't want fans if they voted for Trump. We're ashamed to be American. You should probably love it, cause you have the right to hate it and not get stoned to death in public. As children we were taught how to walk and talk, but the system wants adults to sit down and shut up. Cancel culture runs the world now, the planet went crazy. Label everything we say as homophobic or racist. If you're white, then you're privileged, guilty by association. All our childhood heroes got me too'd or they're rapists. They never freed the slaves. They realized that they don't need to change. They gave us tiny screens, we think we free cause we can't see the cage. They knew that race war would be the game they need to play. For people to big teams, they use the media to feed the flame.
They so fake woke. Facts don't care about feelings. They know they won't tell me what to believe in. They so fake woke. Same old safe zones. They so fake woke. Facts don't care about your feelings.
I think it's crazy how these people screaming facts, but they fake woke. Hate their neighbor cause he wears a mask or he stays home. Has a daughter but his favorite artist said he slays hoes. Picks her up from school, music slaps on the way home. Censorship's an issue cause they choose what they erase. There's a difference between hate speech and speech that you hate. I think Black Lives Matter was the stupidest name, when the system's screwing everyone exactly the same. I just want to spend Thanksgiving Day with food and my family, without being accused of celebrating native casualties. We got so divided, it's black and white and political. Republicans are bigots, libtards if you're liberal. There's riots in our streets and it's just getting worse. Y'all screaming deep on the police, y'all are genius for sure. They're underfunded already, they're way too busy to work. Order food and call the cops, see what reaches you first. Segregation ended, that's a lie in itself. That was a strategy to make us think they were trying to help. They knew that racism was hot if they designed it to sell. We buy up every single box and divide us ourselves.
They so fake woke. Facts don't care about feelings. They know they won't tell me what to believe in. They so fake woke. Same old safe zones. They so fake woke. Facts don't care about your feelings.
We use violence to get peace and wonder why it isn't working. That's like sleeping with a football team to try and be a virgin. Politicians are for sale and someone always makes the purchase, but you and I cannot afford it. Our democracy is worthless. If a man has mental illness, call him crazy, say it silently. When country's going crazy, we accept it as society. Get sick and take a pill. When the side effects get you high, you get addicted like these rappers dying fighting with sobriety. Censoring the facts turns our children into idiots. They claim it's for our safety, I'll tell you what it really is. Removing information that empowers all the citizens. The truth doesn't damage points of view that are legitimate. They're trying to change amen to amen and women. How'd we let them make praying a microaggression? Instead of asking God for the strength to keep winning, we cheat to get ahead and then we ask him for forgiveness. Feminism used to be the most righteous of fights, but these days it feels like they secretly hate guys. I don't trust anyone who bleeds for a week and don't die. I'm just kidding, but everything else that I said is right.
They so fake woke. Facts don't care about feelings. They know they won't tell me what to believe in. They so fake woke. Same old safe zones. They so fake woke. Facts don't care about your feelings.
What is going on, everybody? I had to play Fake Woke at the beginning of this because it is blowing up everywhere. It is made mainstream Fox News. And I got my boy Raven here looking a little bit more professional today. What is he looking like today? He looked pretty good today, don't he, everybody? And I just gotta say, hey, Peekaboo, I know who you are. Sean Bond, what's going on? Ethan, how you doing today? Emil, I seen Mia in the house. I seen Jessica was in here earlier. Hey, what's going on, Rachel? So what's going on, Raven? How you doing?
Doing pretty good. I'm happy to have a nice setup to where it's not, I fit in with you here on the screen. So, and I'm excited to get into the histories that we have set out for today and some special stuff later on.
No. Do you know what we're going to start with today? Do you remember what I told you we're going to start with?
I know the one that we were doing was Spartans. That's the only one I remember.
Yeah, we're gonna do Sparta. I've reacted this week to Sparta. I reacted to the Lost Battalion, and I reacted to 2 more. We're gonna at least get 1 more, and that's Blood of Bannockburn. Now, you needed to watch my reactions.
I watched the Spartan one. It was the most interesting because, like, I am a very big fan of the old Greek, like, Spartans and stuff. I mean,
oh, for sure, for sure. Hey, what's going on, Captain Cumshot? How you doing, brother? Good to see you here today. Hey, it's good to have so many people going in the chat. That's great. Hey, Jessica, I knew you were still here. What's going on? Yes, you're right. I did Sparta. It's about the Spartans, and it was as intensifying as it sounds. It really was. So I can assume that the history behind it's even more. I mean, I've only on the damn movie, you know, like throwing shit, and that's all I know about it. I've never been deep into Sparta and the Spartans, and I'm kind of pumped to go into it. But we aren't starting with that one because I think that one's the best one. We may say
probably is.
I don't know, but I do want to start with what I did just recently, and that was the Lost Battalion. Did you watch that one?
I did not. Like, I've been a little busy with doing some other reactions and getting everything set up for more reactions. Yeah,
busy. Bro, I'm with you every day. Busy. You ain't watched my reactions, did you?
I watched the Spartan one. That's
y'all.
Like,
y'all hear this? All right. Okay. All right. We're just gonna start with the Lost Battalion because Raven just told me on the live they don't even watch what we're about to do for the Saturday Sabaton History Saturday, whatever it's called.
Normally we're doing.
You got me all flabbergasted.
Sometimes we're doing the music with it, and it's like, you know, that way I get a reaction to it, not.
Yeah. Hey, what's up, Lion from the north? Oh, of course. I'm always looking at the requests in the comments, and if they get the most requests, hey, and especially from you, I seen your name. I had to do what you request. I mean, even if other people didn't agree, it's up to me. But we're gonna get into the Lost Battalion. I'm gonna take a little sip of this coffee while we get started. I'm glad that everybody's out there today. Hopefully y'all stick around because there's something coming out huge. It could come out in the middle of something. The more people that come into the live, the more chance that it is that I'm going to release it earlier than the end of the stream. Never know what it's going to be. I mean, there is a hint on the screen of what it's going to be. If you paid attention to community tabs, you know what it is. Hey, Captain Cumshot, I appreciate it, brother. $2. Hey, appreciate it again. It's weird every time I got to say that name. I love that you got that name. But we're going to get into the Lost Battalion history. Let's go.
And this is Sabaton History.
And we are standing in the Argonne Forest where the Lost Battalion was lost during the First World War.
So let's find out more, shall we?
Oh, man. The Argonne is rough terrain, rocky hills and thick woodland, and it had been in German hands since the end of 1914. Now, in late September 1918, the Argonne was an important part of the strongest German position, the Hagenstellung. And as the Allies finally began to break through, it comes down to the Americans to push through that fortified maze of bushes and ravines. But the American forces had hardly any experience in this terrain, especially not the 77th Division. That division was mostly from New York, and they were former street kids.
Hey, New York. Hey, I love it. I was just waiting for you to realize that this is a northern thing.
Oh, it's a northern thing?
It's a northern thing.
Sorry, I don't go above Virginia.
Baseball players, thugs, gamblers, clerks, gangsters, shoemakers, bouncers, everything. And many were recent immigrants, men with Irish, German, Polish, or Russian heritage. Catholics, Protestants, and Jews. They were the most mixed bunch you could imagine. And just before they were shipped out to France, in April 1918, they had been bolstered with men from the Midwest. They were truly an all-American division. The Meuse-Argonne offensive had been making progress, and despite heavy casualties,
Oh yeah, the music video was sick.
Now I feel bad for not watching it.
You should feel bad. You should stand in a corner somewhere.
the Meuse-Argonne offensive had been making progress, and despite heavy casualties, the Americans advanced several miles towards the Germans. By the end of September, the 77th Division stood deep in enemy territory. But progress was still way too slow for High Command's liking, and orders came to keep up the pace. As long as the official casualty list was still comparatively low, there was no need to stop. But for the men on the ground, this was easier said than done. Major Charles Whittlesey, in command of 9 companies of the 77th, complained to General Alexander, in overall command, that their flanks were constantly exposed, as the French forces on the left and the three...
Well, I'm sorry, something just caught my eye in the chat. -17. All right, I thought it was cold here. It isn't snowing, it's sunshine out today, but -17, geez. Yeah, and Jessica, thank you. Don't forget to hit that like button, hit the share button, get this around. The more likes we get, the more shares we get, the more hype we get this, the more people we get. Sooner I drop that surprise.
308th Regiment on the right were not...
Can we back it up just a tad bit, because there was something that I missed.
Yep.
Keep up the pace. As long as the official casualty list was still comparatively low, there was no need to stop. But for the men on the ground, this was easier said than done. Major Charles Whittlesey, in command of 9 companies of the 77th, complained to General Alexander, in overall command, that their flanks were constantly exposed, as the French forces on the left and the 308th Regiment on the right were not keeping up with them. That was indeed a major problem, because once inside the forest, it was easy to lose track of time and direction. Since they had no wireless radio, they had to rely on maps and compasses. Time and again, they had been surprised by hidden German machine gun posts.
So we're starting to really see where the Lost Battalion name comes into play here. It's crazy, you know. He said, if I understand it correct, that they couldn't keep up with him.
Well, I mean, honestly, you give the lieutenant a compass and a map, he's gonna get lost.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, yeah. They don't. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Overall command that their flanks were constantly exposed, as the French forces on the left and the 308th Regiment on the right were not keeping up with them. That was indeed a major problem, because once inside the forest, it was easy to lose track of time and direction. Since they had no wireless radio, they had to rely on maps and compasses. Time and again, they had been surprised by hidden German machine gun posts, and German infiltration teams were constantly trying to outflank companies that went too far ahead. More than once, Whittlesey's companies had lost contact with the forces on their flanks, right? General Alexander gave the strict order they were to go forwards, not backwards. Major Whittlesey wholeheartedly disagreed with Alexander, and he knew the reality of frontline combat better, but there was no point in arguing. So early on the morning of October 2nd, Whittlesey's battalion of roughly 550 men entered the forest, behind a creeping barrage where the German trenches were believed to be. As they marched forward, though, they noticed that the enemy was strangely silent. Here and there, terrified young boys and exhausted.
You know what? I can relate to that, man. Because, you know, when I was in Iraq, it was dead silence. There was nobody out. There were no cars. There were no buses. There were no goats. There were no dogs. I mean, it was like the animals even knew something was about to pop off. Like, there's an eerie silence before something really bad's about to happen, dude. Like, it's...
I can feel that, like, with how you're describing and how the history is describing it. It's just like, you know, you probably wouldn't even hear a bird chirp. It's just like you could hear a pin drop, and then like it would just come down on you.
It's crazy with it. Yeah.
So early on the morning of October 2nd,
so
Whittlesey's battalion of roughly 550 men entered the forest, behind a creeping barrage where the German trenches were believed to be. As they marched forward, though, they noticed that the enemy was strangely silent. Here and there, terrified young boys and exhausted old men in dirty German uniforms came their way, surrendering without a fight. And hopes were high that Germany was finally coming to the end of its fighting capability and breakthrough.
Hey, Captain Gunshot. Hey, there's a movie about the Lost Battalion. Oh yeah, what is the name of it? The Lost Battalion. What's the name, brother?
Yeah, if you can
I
give us the name,
appreciate
that'd be
it,
great.
homie. I really appreciate it. You're a great supporter of the channel, homie. Captain Gunshot, I appreciate it.
Was close at hand, but once again, hidden machine guns and mortars opened
What's
up
up,
on
Mr.
them.
Frickin'
Yet there was
Bracken?
no continuous German line, just small nests of resistance. They pushed on until the evening and reached the top of a ravine where they suddenly stood at a major German strongpoint, but one without a single German soldier in sight. Maybe General Alexander had been right all along. Maybe the Germans were truly broken and in full retreat. Major Whittlesey ordered his men to move along, though he had not heard from the commanders on his flanks for quite a while. What he could not know was that the Germans were by no means broken. He had simply found a hole in their front line. The French and the 308th had made only little progress, and the only ones really pushing forward right now were Whittlesey's 9 companies, and the Germans were about to notice.
Of course they were. I was just about to say, there's no way they're making that much progress, and there's something
Without
ain't
any
right.
resistance?
Without any resistance, something's just not right.
Because I mean, like just the possibility and probability of like being in the right place at the right time to get through the line in a gap with that many German soldiers on the front lines, like that is ridiculous.
It's like, and just like they said, eventually the Germans were going to find out. I mean, they were going to realize, oh, wait, hold up. They're actually doing
some
this?
Americans over here.
Like, there's really... I mean, I could see it. The tactical advantage of that would be...
The French and the 308th had made only little progress, and the only ones really pushing forward right now were Whittlesey's 9 companies, and the Germans were about to notice.
1918, the Great War rages on. Our battalion is lost in the Argonne.
By nightfall,
And then I learned something cool about that now that they played that part of the song. If you listen carefully, the sounds of that song are actually 50 cal machine guns, 9mm 1911s, and there was one other gun that was also in there as the drums, guitar, and the snare.
Oh, they
had made only
recorded
little
gunfire?
progress, and the only ones
listen
really
to it.
pushing forward right now were Whittlesey's 9 companies, and the Germans were about to notice.
1918, the Great War rages on. Our battalion is lost in the Argonne.
Yeah.
By nightfall, the battalion had dug in on the side of a hill, and they arranged their machine guns around the perimeter.
Hey,
Major
Scatter,
Whittlesey
what's
was
going on,
then
brother?
told
What's up,
that
Scatter?
the men had heard German voices back from where they came. As daylight
See,
found them,
just like I said, German voices from where they came. They was about to pinch them, homie. I knew it. Hey, Riddle, thanks for the $5, homie. I appreciate it with the dancing. It looks like a pear chicken thing with weights. Keep it up. I'm gonna, bro. We're gonna keep on
Pear
going.
chicken.
These Germans are about to give these boys, New York boys, the fight of their lives.
Major Whittlesey was then told that the men had heard German voices back from where they came. As daylight found them, so too did the German mortars. Whittlesey had around 500 men fit for action and had still heard nothing from his flanks. He sent out runners, and they thought they spotted German...
As Daniel Rupp said, also there's bayonet flesh sound in it as well. It's pretty sick.
Oh.
Yeah, it's pretty. You need to really listen to the
Too
song.
did the German mortars. Whittlesey had around 500 men fit for action and had still heard nothing from his flanks.
You know
he sent
where we
out
was sitting,
runners,
Scatter,
and
and
they thought they spotted
everybody
German
else
soldiers
might know
moving
too
through the
soon.
bushes.
I mean,
Now,
2 or
Whittlesey
3
had
more.
seen that before, the German infiltration tactics. So he sent out his strongest company, E Company. But were they really Germans out there or friendly runners trying to reestablish connection? A voice came from the bushes. Americans? It asked. A private replied, yes, E Company. The response to that was a hail of hand grenades and machine gun fire. E Company was no more. The Germans had found them, and Whittlesey's worst fears had come true. He was cut off, and not even his carrier pigeons seemed able to find their way. And the German artillery was getting closer.
You heard that, right? Carrier pigeons. So they were shooting them up out the sky.
They were shooting pigeons out of the sky.
That means they were shooting pigeons out the sky. Think about that. They was going bird
The New York
hunting.
boys? Or
No,
the Germans?
the Germans.
Oh, I
The
was
New
like,
York
New York
boys couldn't
what do they
even
know about
use
pigeon hunting?
pigeons to get their I mean, they used it all the time back then. It's craziness, but the Germans were literally just dove hunting. I mean,
Dude.
fighting a war too. Let's go.
Whittlesey was
What were you gonna say?
Oh, no, I was just saying, like,
Oh, okay.
it's like
in a tight
shooting
spot.
little
He
birds out of
could
the sky.
pull back and make a break for the
Oh
American
yeah, the
lines.
slope.
But he
Yeah,
had a lot of
exactly.
wounded, and going back would mean leaving them out in the open. He also had no idea how many Germans were there. He chose to stay. The Germans tested them, rushing from cover to cover, baiting the Americans to fire at them and reveal their positions. And German mortars caused heavy casualties. But the Americans had an advantage. They had German immigrants in their ranks who understood the carelessly shouted German commands. This foiled attacks until night fell. The pocket was shrinking, but still held. The water and
Confusion.
food were running out fast.
I like that.
On the third day, water and food had run out, and the men resorted to searching German corpses for food. Whittlesey and the other officers did their best to keep up morale, and in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of France, the New Yorker attitude still came through. Every German attack was met with defiance, and every insult was promptly returned. The 77s would not be cowed and would not give up.
Never give up. Never accept defeat. Never. Hey, Mr. Freaking Frag, and I like that. That brings up my next point. Running the comm wire and then having it cut repeatedly, and having to be that dude that runs the comm wire through the enemy lines. I mean, can you think about that shit? Like, nah, I'm good.
I gotta say, for some New York boys, they got some courage.
I'm just gonna hit play on that one. And Dixie, if I was hungry enough, I'd eat the pigeon too. And that cold, oh yeah.
Officers did their best to keep up morale, and in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of
Hit that
France,
like
the
button
New
and that
Yorker
subscribe
attitude
button
still
and that
came
share
through.
button.
Every German attack was met with defiance, and every insult was promptly returned. The 77s would not be cowed and would not give up. In the afternoon, the shelling intensified and crept dangerously close. Then it finally hit their positions. Huge artillery shells rained down on them, and it became clear that it was American artillery. Whittlesey hurried to his birds.
Shell stuck in a
None
tree?
had returned, and there was only one left, the handler's favorite, a black and white pigeon called Cher Ami. Whittlesey wrote, "Our own artillery is dropping a barrage directly
Don't
on us. For
encourage
heaven's
them,
sake,
scatter."
stop it." And his coordinates on a piece of paper, put it in an aluminum tube, and bound it to the bird's leg. All their hopes lay with this bird, and Cher Ami took off to the next tree, where she sat peacefully on a branch watching the men who kicked the tree and threw stones at the bird until she took wing again.
The pigeon perched on the tree.
The shelling continued and bound it to the
See,
bird's
like,
leg.
that's a
All
problem.
their hopes lay with this bird, and Cher Ami took off to the next tree, where she sat peacefully on a branch watching the men who kicked the tree and threw stones at the bird until she took wing again. The shelling continued and even got worse as the Germans joined in. Soon, German soldiers were breaking into the pocket, hurling grenades as they came down the slope. Now, had they intended to kill all of the Americans, they would probably have succeeded, but instead they tried to take prisoners. This gave the battalion a chance to fight back. Machine guns ran hot. Soldiers fired at point-blank range from a wall of corpses, resisting capture once more, forcing the Germans to retreat.
Dude.
Night fell once again.
Chose not to surrender, they chose victory or defeat. Fallen brothers rest
Unknown to them, their story was getting attention. At first, politically, both American and German high commands knew that the destruction of the pocket would be a propaganda coup. The Germans could boast how superior their troops were, and the Americans would face political backlash back at home, and maybe even be taken out of the line. Both sides increased efforts to find them. As morning broke on the fourth day, Whittlesey and his men had no food, little ammo, and most...
So they're having no idea where they're really at. Is that? I understand that now, right? I know. I mean, like even the Germans don't know where they're at. See, I didn't catch that part.
But they're killing all the Germans.
Hey, Back to School just released it, man. We were waiting for 50 people to be watching, but there it is right there. You hit that link, you can join the Discord called the Chill Spot. That would be the chill spot that you meet myself, Back to School, Raven, Riddle, a lot of our friends, Big Ugly. There's a bunch of people, Scatters even in there. Hey, hit that link up, start joining, start liking, start sharing, get this link going around. Everybody's welcome. There it is, there's that surprise.
Increased efforts to find them. As morning broke on the fourth day, Whittlesey and his men had no food, little ammo, and most of their machine guns were destroyed. The artillery barrage came back, but this time, it did not hit their position. Instead, falling on the Germans further north, Cher Ami had found its way to the American headquarters. With a shrapnel wound and a leg blown off, she had still given their coordinates to headquarters. Aww. So now...
Yo, a shrapnel wound and a leg blown off. That pigeon done more than some soldiers I know. Holy cow.
Dude, that pigeon, though.
That's crazy.
This time,
saved the day.
It did not hit their position. Instead, falling on the Germans further north, Cher Ami had found its way to the American headquarters. With a shrapnel wound and a leg blown off, she had still given their coordinates to headquarters. So now, American command knew where they were, but still didn't know their situation. In fact, Alexander was writing out orders that Whittlesey should resume the attack northwards. The Germans made plans to finally destroy the pocket.
You guys...
The next night, several groups of veteran stormtroops...
I was just about to ask Captain Cumshaw. I was like, you know, wouldn't that bird have gotten a Purple Heart for being... I mean, the military dogs get a Purple Heart if they get injured overseas.
But, I mean, this is a different time period.
Back up from your mic. You got to remember you have a good mic. Whoa. Calm down, killer. Speak normal. There you go. It's a
different time period, and... they were just birds. And, I mean, did they have dogs back then?
Well, I mean, Captain Cupshot saying that bird got a medal. I'm pretty sure he knows a lot. Hey, our fans out there, man, and everybody in the community, they know their shit. Never question it. I've learned.
I bet that pigeon was from New York, too.
It has to be a New York pigeon.
The Germans made plans to finally destroy the pocket. The next night, several groups of veteran stormtroops appeared at the front, ready to move in, but this time they would not take prisoners. Day 5. At midday came panicked shouts. Liquid fire sprayed the position, and a shower of grenades fell. German flamethrowers came down the slope, while from the flanks, stormtroops tore through the bushes. A violent melee began. Engulfed in smoke and flames, the pocket turned into a no-holds-barred brawl to the death. The Americans engaged the stormtroops with knives, clubs, and bayonets. Officers fired their revolvers at point-blank range. No quarter was given, no mercy was shown, and the Americans held. Barely, but they held. The 6th day of combat began. The men were exhausted, mentally and physically. Wow. The mood now was fatalistic.
That's a lot
and
of
many wrote their final letters, not expecting to come out of this alive. But the Germans sent in a letter of their own, asking for surrender. Whittlesey made clear there would be no surrender.
Oh, no.
High Command had sent out volunteers to establish contact. Many were intercepted by the Germans, but some eventually broke through and came in contact with the rest of the 77th Division, trying to fight its way through to the Lost Battalion. Finally, on the 8th of October, after 7 days of combat, the Lost Battalion was found.
They would never comply, they would rather die. Look through the blockade, they would find
Food and water were rushed into the
that
exhausted
guitar.
Nah, you don't.
men. From the
You don't even know.
554 men
You
that
don't
went
even
in,
know.
197
I
were
wanna know.
killed and 150 were either missing or captured by the enemy. Only 194 men walked out of the pocket under their own steam, but most
Wanna
of
say
them
it
were
was a
wounded.
7-day
Nearly
battle,
overnight, it
peekaboo.
became the biggest American story of the war. War reporters rushed into the scene and immediately interviewed the men, which is why we have such a detailed account of the fighting. Major Charles Whittlesey and 2 other
That's
captains
awesome.
would receive the Medal of Honor for their actions, and Cher Ami was
Oh.
even awarded the Croix de Guerre. But all of the men
Okay, what is
had
that?
become heroes to the American public, and stories and books were written about them.
'Cause
They
that sounds
really
like a French
became
novel.
I don't know. Not gonna pretend like I do. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not too up
Well,
to par with my
We do
foreign
have
medals.
confirmation. The pigeon did get a medal.
The pigeon got a few medals. It got that medal with a palm oak leaf cluster for her heroic service in delivering 12 important messages to Verdun.
Dang,
So yeah,
tough little pigeon.
that pigeon's got better awards than I've got.
the Guerre. But all of the men had become heroes to the American public, and stories and books were written about them. They really became the all-American heroes of the war. And to this day, books, films, and songs are written about them and their stand as they have entered the realm of American legends.
As they made their stand against regarded demand. It's surrender or die, and the stakes are high. If or die, you can tell there's no goodbye.
Okay, Lost Battalion, the song. What do you got?
Nothing.
Now, this is an interesting idea for a Sabaton song. How did you...
He said nothing.
did you come up with the idea in the first place?
Well, over the years, we've asked our fans from all over the world to give us ideas, send us emails or give us books and such. And this one is actually one of those stories.
Okay.
Many years back, a friend named Mike gave us a book called The Lost Battalion, actually.
So you guys do actually go through, like when people send you books and things, you do actually read them. And
Yes, I mean, not everything, obviously. We get a lot of books, but everything that we think looks interesting and can be inspiration for a song. Over the years, I don't know how many thousands of emails we have got.
Yeah.
And I can honestly say we have read everyone, and they're all saved, except when you suggested Star Wars or such.
Okay, well, when they do their album Star Wars, we'll have to be on location for that, too.
Yes.
You can write in and ask if you want us on the ice planet Hoth or on the desert planet Tatooine when we film the Star Wars ones, because those will be fun to do.
Yeah, but it'll be far, far away.
But we know there's a cantina where we can get drinks.
Oh, yes, that's good.
Before I forget, I'll tell you what. In the description, there'll be a link to that book so that
Yep.
anybody, because you said it was good, yeah?
Very good.
And it inspired the song.
Yes.
Now, what about the song itself? Is it just a traditional, straightforward Sabaton
No,
song?
this is very different. This one actually has a new drum kit that isn't real. I had this idea and I had it for many, many years, but
See if you
it
explain
was
it.
never turned into a reality until now.
Okay.
And the kick drum
Yeah.
is a machine gun.
Okay.
The snare drum is a 9mm handgun.
Yeah.
And this is kind of macabre, but the hi-hat is a bayonet going into flesh.
Can we hear some of that right now?
Dude,
There it is.
All right, there we are. See, I love that when that happens.
Yes.
I can also call down thunder.
oh.
No, but it's really...
Can we replay that?
I am.
But the hi-hat is a bayonet.
Holy cow.
Flesh.
Can we hear some of that right now?
There it is.
All right, there we are. See, I love that when that happens.
Yes.
I can also call down thunder. Never mind.
Never mind.
No, but it's really this idea I had for a long time, and sound production-wise, it's a nightmare,
That was so.
So
yeah,
I
that did
basically
Dixie.
took the
Oh my
sounds
God.
of these machine guns, 9mm guns, and everything, and I tested everything.
Yeah.
And I built, obviously this is computer-based samples, but I built a drum kit out of, well, sounds of death, I guess.
But that, I guess, it will bring home what these guys were
Sounds
actually
of
facing.
death.
I mean, they're there for days. they're
time to
under
take a
fire,
drink
not
of
just
coffee.
from the Germans, under fire from their own guys.
Yeah, and it's from that point of view, it's really one of my favorite things because finally a crazy idea I had actually worked out.
Now, I can't help but ask, how are you going to do that live?
We have done it live a couple of times actually.
With stabbing someone in the bayonets repeatedly?
Yeah. Actually, yeah. The problem is miking them up, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa, hold on. I was doing something over here, and did he just say they actually had people? Did I hear that right?
Can't help but ask, how are you going to do that live?
We have done it live a couple of times actually.
With stabbing someone in the bayonets repeatedly?
Yeah. Actually, yeah. The problem is miking them up, you know.
Oh, yeah. Because they go, ow, ow, ow,
Okay.
ow.
Yes.
Just the bayonet noise. That's all
Sounds
they want.
dangerous,
You need
but
to be quiet.
fun.
No, but we actually for that, Hannes is playing it
Don't try
live,
it at
but it's triggered
Yeah, don't try
by samples.
Okay,
So
so it's
he's
like that.
we have triggers on the drums. So when he's punching everything, it's still the sample drums we hear. We mix them with acoustic drums, so it's a mix there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's played live because we don't want to put it on a drum machine when we have an awesome drummer, you know.
Well, that's absolutely true.
Right. You can't waste the drummer. He's freaking awesome.
The great warrior song, a battalion is lost in the
All right, everybody. That was
See.
Lost Battalion from The Last Stand, which came out a couple of years ago. And if you don't know that one, you should definitely get that one. And you should also get the new one, The Great War, since we're here filming on locations from The Great War.
Yeah,
We just
That's it
finished
for
that
today.
album.
See you soon.
they would rather die than the bleeding
All right,
That's what I'm
everyone. As you
talking
can
about.
see, we have put the effort on. It's time for you to do it. So become a patron and do it now, all right? And don't forget to subscribe to Sabaton, Time Ghost, and World War II. Hope to see you all on the road very soon because we are releasing a kick-ass album. So let's do this.
There we go. Pause it right there. And here we have it. That is the first video. Now we're not done. We got a couple more to go. We got lucky. We got lucky making it through that last one without an ad. I'm amazed that there wasn't an ad for that one. It is
Yeah,
what
'cause
it
that was
is.
what, 13, 15 minutes?
So no, you didn't watch my reaction. We've got that established, right? All right.
I mean, you're
So-
rubbing in my face now.
So you missed out on the solo that you said, "Oh my, that solo, this and that." But if you'd have watched my reaction, you'd have actually heard that solo. I watch your reactions. I mean, I'm hurt still. But anyway, hopefully y'all enjoyed it.
88% of yours.
What did you?
I mean,
88%. Okay, so
Yeah,
you
it's-
should know
it's a-
this next one for the percentage wise because I did 4 of them. Are
we
you
did
gonna,
other stuff
are
too.
you gonna stick with that number there, 88%?
Okay, it's 72.
Still not making it. I don't think it is.
It'll be fine.
It's gonna be fun. All right. We getting the next
Idell.
video loaded right now. It takes a second. I don't like letting y'all see the ad. We got an ad in the beginning. As Back to School is putting out, don't forget to join the Discord server. Come hang out with us a lot more than just doing our lives. You'll be able to check out when we're doing our recordings. You'll know when everything's dropping. You'll know all the information, places to put in requests, places to chat, places to voice chat, places to game. You've got it all there. Go check it out. We've started a kick-ass community, and we named it the Chill Spot because that's all it is chill. Come hang out. But now, this next history. Did you watch my reaction to Blood of Bannockburn? Oh my god, my dog's ears were just loud.
Honestly, I did not because I didn't know you put out that one.
Okay, so everybody out there that watched my reaction to Blood of Bannockburn, you knew that this one was coming. I'm curious to know about it because that song pumped me up a lot. I appreciated being told to go and do this one. And if he's still here, the Lion of the North is the one that requested this one. So we're going to get into it. This one is a shorter video. We're going to check out what it's about. And Raven's going to learn a little bit since he didn't listen.
I'll listen.
I'm Indy Nidell.
And I'm Joachim from Sabaton, and this is Sabaton History.
The song Blood of Bannockburn is about the battle of the same name and Robert the Bruce, the man who led the Scots to victory there. The Scots fought for their independence from the English for over 30 years before achieving final victory, and a major step on that road to victory was the Battle of Bannockburn.
And our song, Blood of Bannockburn, is our only song in a major key.
Wow.
Get ready for Braveheart.
Joachim is going to tell you a bit about the song itself,
yeah.
but first, I'm going to tell you the history.
I gotta be honest, I didn't watch that movie.
Where's all my Scottish people at? You know we're about to get real Scottish feeling up in the chat right now. It's about to happen. I'm just gonna tell you that right now.
Joachim is going to tell you a bit about the song itself, but first, I'm going to tell you the history. Now, the Scottish defeat in the Battle of Falkirk in 1289 at the hands of the English had seemingly destroyed the Scottish independence movement once and for all. William Wallace, the guy from Braveheart, had abandoned his title as the Guardian of Scotland, embittered by the Scottish nobles who had betrayed him during the battle. On the run, he was again betrayed and handed over to the English, who emasculated, strangled, and quartered him in 1305. The Scottish earls surrendered and swore their fealty to Edward I of England, the one they called Longshanks. But there was still a strong anti-English feeling throughout the country, with nobles still plotting an insurgency. Such a noble was Robert Bruce, also known as the Bruce. He was the former Earl of Carrick and the 7th Lord of Annandale, and had a strong claim to the Scottish throne, but also many enemies among his fellow Scots. In 1306, Bruce made his move and secured the throne, and once crowned King of Scotland, rallied the Scottish earls for war with England. With high hopes, he led his forces into the field and got his army wrecked during the Battle of Methven. In fact, Bruce barely escaped with a small band of loyal followers. His army gone, his lands confiscated and distributed amongst his Scottish enemies. Even his wife, sisters, and daughters were captured and imprisoned. His brother tortured and executed. But from his darkest hour emerged one of the greatest comebacks in history. Robert Bruce returned from his hiding place in the Western Isles, where he recruited new warriors to his cause and began a relentless guerrilla war against his enemies, raiding English camps or ambushing their supply lines. They hid among the locals, who also hated the...
You know what, Captain Cumshot? I don't know if Raven has really seen anything. I mean, he does kind of live in a box. What the fuck? What was that?
I'm offended.
Well, of course, I don't know what that noise was, but I'm about to sample the hell out of it. I'm going to tell you that right now. We're going to go back.
Who also hated the English oppressors. Robert Bruce became a tactician, finding the weak points of his enemies and using the terrain to his advantage. He took back his castles and gathered ever more supporters to his cause. One by one, he destroyed his internal enemies on the battlefields, took their strongholds, making him an actual...
Oh my, oh my. No, you did not. This man just lost his internet in the middle of the live. Y'all see it right now. I'm reacting with Smiling Raven right now. So, I mean, you hear Back to School even laughing about it in the background. So, oh God.
Welcome to the shit show. Here we go.
So we're going to continue
King
this
of
without
Scotland,
Raven.
once again. Of course, this war did not escape the attention of the English throne. Now, Longshanks had died by this time, and his son Edward II was king. But until 1314, he was distracted by his own internal enemies and his affairs in France. But the new king in the north was a serious threat to England's frontier. So Edward assembled an army of over 18,000 men, among them heavy cavalry and Welsh longbowmen, and led them to crush the Scottish rebellion once again. A side note here, the longbow was a recent and major innovation that revolutionized...
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm laughing at how he's frozen. Look at this shit. Look at
Dude,
him.
he has to reset his 56K modem, dude. He has to go tell his dad to plug it back in and put the cordless phone down.
I couldn't help but show you how he froze. All right, let's keep going.
Medieval warfare. Welsh bowmen had used them against longshanks, actually, and he incorporated them into his army. The longbow was a devastating weapon, with long range, able to pierce even plate armor from shorter.
All right, I'm not going any further. Are you back this time?
Dude, I don't know what's going on with the internet. It's just doing its thing.
It's so far, I've now shown you frozen twice. And that's what the laughy faces are about your frozen smiles.
Yeah,
and
I know.
All right, we're gonna backtrack this a little bit so Raven can get caught up. Now, Raven, are you?
Oh no, I'm caught up. It's just like I've been
You don't
watching.
have to scream. Are you sure? Oh, you've been watching? Okay.
Yeah,
actually, and he incorporated them into his army. The longbow was a devastating weapon, with long range, able to pierce even plate armor from shorter ranges, and with a much quicker rate of fire than the crossbow. They would later famously be used to destroy the French in battle after battle during the 100 Years' War. Contrary to popular opinion, though, longbowmen did not launch arrows high in the sky to drop onto their enemies. Okay, well, this did happen. They fought far more often at close range in order to be their most accurate and to preserve their store of expensive and limited ammunition. Anyhow,
makes sense.
At this time, Bruce had Stirling Castle, the old residence of Scottish kings, under siege. It not only had strong symbolic significance, the position of the castle between the streams Bannockburn and the River Forth was also of strategic importance. Philip de Mowbray, the castle governor, was loyal to the English crown. Legend goes that he said he would surrender the castle to Bruce.
Wait, hold on. Daniel Rupp's right. Hold on. Were you watching, or was it you watched my reaction watching? So what kind of watching was it? Did you really watch it, Raven? Were you really caught up?
I'm confused with this question.
If the English did not relieve him by the end of June. Well, on June 23rd, the English army, led personally by Edward II, arrived outside of the village of Bannockburn on the other side of the stream. Robert Bruce was now determined to fight a decisive battle.
Yeah, you see the good song you missed?
His army was probably around 8,000 to 10,000 men strong and consisted mostly of infantry, some crossbowmen, and a few cavalrymen. He was outnumbered at least 2 to 1. Historians disagree on how much of the English army had arrived by the battle, so Bruce would have to rely on his tactical experience he had gained during his guerrilla campaign. The story of the Battle of Bannockburn goes that the vanguard of the English army crossed the stream and encountered Robert Bruce and his bodyguard. The Scots had made defensive earthworks that formed a bottleneck on the road to and through the woods, so the English could only launch a narrow frontal attack here. These earthworks also neutralized the English advantage in heavy cavalry. The English nobleman Henry de Bohun, whose father was joint commander of the vanguard, spotted the Bruce and charged him with a lance. The Bruce turned at the last moment and won the duel with his superior battle-axe-in-the-face tactic. Too right. The Scots then routed the vanguard infantry. Now, Bannockburn is not...
I don't want to imagine that, peekaboo. I'm doing a live here, and you're telling me to think of that? I mean, Raven. Oh, come on.
I'm here, right?
Yes, now you're there.
Tactic.
Okay.
Too right. The Scots then routed the vanguard infantry. Now, Bannockburn is not a large river by any means, but it is lined with swamps, marshland, and dense woods, through which the armored English had to struggle. The Scots on the other side were hidden in the woods. When the English attempted to cross the stream, the Scottish infantry would advance as well, in tightly packed formations known as shieldtrons or schildtrons. They carried spears and pikes, and as long as they maintained formation, the English heavy cavalry, also limited by space from getting up speed, could not hope to charge them and live through it, nor could they outflank them. As night fell, the English camped in a deep marsh and remained awake for the most part, fearing an ambush that never came. The following day, June the 24th, Edward II drove the rest of his army across the stream. Bruce moved his whole force out of the woods in 3 formations. The English now realized that the field was too small for them to fully deploy, so the archers, who would normally have been on the flanks, were now placed in the front rank. They opened fire as the Scottish advanced. Bruce ordered his cavalry to charge them, which prompted Edward to order...
Right? Freaking fracking. I mean, back in the day, it's like a battle axe to the face. That just solves everything. I mean, problem solved, right? They dead. Raven, hello. I'm speaking.
What was the question? I was reading chat. I'm sorry.
I said, like Mr. Frickin' Frackin' said, the battle axe to the face. You're about to get a battle axe to the face, bro.
Order a countercharge with his own cavalry, which blocked any possible storm of arrows. The Scottish formations did not break, and the English charge went horribly wrong. The Scots infantry advanced, pushing their enemy back into the steep-banked ditch of the Bannockburn, where the English soldiers were trapped by the weight of their armor and slaughtered.
Rally all the clans, Englishmen and lands, blood of Bannockburn, point of no return. Join the Scottish Revolution, freedom must be won by blood. Now we call for revolution, lay them pipes and cry out loud.
Edward...
Now do you see why like I like this song so much, reacting to it, like hearing that, like freedom's won by blood, and it always has been, except for back then they hit each other with battle axes.
I'm gonna have to go and watch your reaction to this and the previous song because I'm missing out. I really am. I really am missing out.
Sabaton reaction playlist, but they're all there.
Edward's bodyguards barely got their lord away from the fray, and many famous English knights fell prey to Scottish pikes or were captured for ransom. Seeing their king flee the battle, the rest of the English army turned their backs and ran as well. Stirling Castle surrendered, and much of the fleeing army was killed making its way back to the English border, either by Bruce's pursuing army or by the local inhabitants. It is estimated that the English lost over 10,000 men, perhaps many more, and the financial strain of the ransom of over 150 nobles weakened Edward's rule. The battle destroyed England's ability to fight the Scottish for years, leaving northern England vulnerable. Robert was really the Bruce at this point, as his name became legend and his authority after the battle was unchallenged. This was the main turning point on the road to Scottish independence, which was signed by treaty with King Edward III, Edward II's son and successor, after Robert the Bruce invaded northern England in 1328.
Ooh, they got that momentum and they just kept on going.
Yes, they did.
Jeez.
Turning point on the road to Scottish independence, which was signed by treaty with King Edward III, Edward II's son and successor, after Robert the Bruce invaded northern England in 1328.
Well, not only does this song feature bagpipe, but we also got some Hammond organ in this one.
And it was, in fact, you that played the organ on this.
Yes, it was. Actually, I came into the band as an organ player, and
Well, that's a side of him I've never seen before.
started in music as an organ player.
Yeah, I
actually.
bet a lot of people don't actually know that that's what you did when you first joined Sabaton.
Yeah, I was writing songs and they told me, can't you sing until we find a singer? The lazy bastards, well, here I am.
So were you like singing on demos and we'd send these around and somebody could maybe, take over?
Yeah,
stuff?
actually, that's what happened. They, the lazy bastards, as I call them, and I will refer to them as that for this one, they actually told me, one day, we're going to record a demo. And I went, well, we don't have a singer. And they said, well, we'll use the demo to find a singer. And that actually made sense.
And so you were just doing like a placeholder vocals.
Yeah, okay, it sounded like shit.
Now, do we get to hear it one day?
I hope not. I certainly hope not.
Okay, so that means I'm probably not cutting to it right now.
No, please don't.
Okay, not cutting to it right now.
Please don't.
But that's really interesting.
So scary.
And I play keyboards as well and stuff.
Yes.
And we both played with different Swedish bands and different touring around Sweden. It's been a lot of fun. We were touring we started touring Sweden at the same time.
Yeah, we
I mean,
did.
you guys started playing in the 99 or what?
Yeah.
And the first Swedish bands I started really touring around Sweden with was also in 99 and 2000.
Oh, yeah.
Now, back to the song, though, because this is about Blood of Bannockburn. One thing about this song is you can't help but feel it's a sort of an inspirational song, when you...
Yeah, I mean, it is in a major key, as
Yeah.
I said, and it's such a good vibe live. Seriously. I mean, it was kind of popular on the album,
Yeah.
but
I
live,
really
that
wanna see
song
them live.
really comes to life in a way.
They need to
people
come
are
here to the
happy,
US.
and especially playing this one in Scotland.
Yeah, I was
That
gonna
is
say.
a blast. We've done that in Scottish war paint and everything, and kilts.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay, do we have a
Going all
photo?
out.
Maybe we do, actually.
Boom! All right, there we go. All right, Blood of Bannockburn,
I love
this
that song.
uplifting song in a major key, is
Oh,
on the
yeah, it
album
is.
The Last Stand.
And that
And
gets
that's all
you
for
so
today.
hyped.
But we'll see you next time on Sabaton History.
All right, soldiers, you know the drill. You subscribe to the YouTube channels. It's Sabaton History, regular Sabaton channel, World War II,
My
and
channel.
Time Ghost. You click that playlist, find more cool videos, and then you support us on Patreon. That's what makes this shit happen, okay? Now on the ground, and give me 20!
And there we have it. You. Never mind. So, what'd you think, Raven?
I liked it.
Oops.
It was a
Wrong
shorter history.
Yeah, it was a shorter history. I mean, I did mention this one was going to be a shorter one, which was good because we didn't get an ad. We made it through 2 without an ad. Now we did save the
hope
best
for
history
3.
for last. And
This is gonna be my favorite.
oh yeah, this one is Sparta. Now
Now
we're
I
going.
did watch your reaction to this one.
Oh, so this one you actually did watch. Was it watch or
Yes, I watched the whole thing.
are you
did.
sure?
I did. 100% promise. Pinky promise.
Okay. We'll see. All right. Well, I got it up here loaded. We got it ready to go. I hope everybody out there is enjoying. I see 50. We got 50 people here right now. I appreciate everybody that's out there. Hit that like, hit the share, hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel. I'm always putting out Sabaton, and I put out a whole bunch of variety of music. I put it all out there. Watch it all. Support the channel. Join the community with the link that Back to School just shared again into the chat for our Discord called the Chill Spot. You can come in there, talk to me, Raven, Riddle, Back to School. And there's going to be a lot of community in it. Sorry for my dog chewing on her chew toy in the back. She's a little rude. But hey, we all got to have our fun. Let's get into Sparta. The history. I've been excited about this one all week. All week. I've been looking forward to Sabaton History Saturday for Sparta all week.
Me
Let's go.
too.
Let's
Me
go.
too.
Sparta. Oh, what can I say? Hardcore.
Hardcore.
Pretty much.
The great king of Persia had called, and his empire had answered. In the year 480 BC,
Oh, hell yeah, Captain Cumshot. Right now, I had 3 planned. I had 4 videos done during the week. So far, I got 3 up here planned. Figure that's a good hour and a half stream almost. We going long term today because we're just releasing the Discord, and hopefully y'all get around. It'll be putting the details down below for afterwards for everybody else to see. Appreciate everybody coming out again today.
an endless stream of marching feet made its way from Asia Minor westward. Not just Persians, but Bactrians and Medes, men from the Caucasus and Arabia, men on horseback, camels, chariots, men from the mountains and the steppe, men from the ancient cities and the sea, Babylonians, Phoenicians, Assyrians, contingents from places as far away as India, Ethiopia, and Egypt, all were called to war by Xerxes, king of kings, the son of Darius the Great, their God-appointed ruler and king of the world. And he called them to war against the people of Hellas. The Hellenic people, I'll call them Greeks for simplicity, had been offered an ultimatum by Darius: bend the knee and offer the King of Kings what is rightfully his earth and his water. Many had done so, but others, most importantly the two mightiest city-states, Athens and Sparta, had...
I was going to say something. Then my dog started drinking. I started laughing and I inhaled my coffee. So I started laughing really loud and coughing, so I muted myself. That's kind of embarrassing. All right, let's go.
Others, most importantly the two mightiest city-states, Athens and Sparta, had refused. Sparta had even thrown the Persian envoys into a well to get their water and their earth from down there. This had provoked the Persians to war, as you may imagine. So begins the story told by the father of historians, Herodotus, a story that would be told for over 2,000 years. The Greeks had won the first round against King Darius at the Battle of Marathon, but Xerxes was determined to even the score. He would not bother to send more envoys, he would send his armies instead. Sitting on a throne made of white marble, Xerxes watched his host move to the Hellespont, where a mighty bridge supported by ships would bring them to Hellas. At the head of the army marched his guard, the Immortals, with wreaths of victory on their heads. To bless this day, he threw a goblet into the sea, alongside a golden bowl and a Persian sword. The gods will be watching Xerxes' great victory, for bridging the Asiatic and European worlds, an army of 3 million men was on the march, at least according to Herodotus. Modern historians narrow that force down to a maximum of 250,000 men, which is still really massive for the time, and it was an enormous feat of logistics to keep them supplied. While many northern Greek cities cooperated with the Persians for fear of being destroyed, Athens and Sparta had made a pact with each other. The powerful triremes of Athens would challenge the Persian fleet, while Sparta would march out to meet the Persians in the field. The Greeks wanted freedom, so they said. Yeah, but the Spartans were not truly free men, but bound to the law of their state. Only a small fraction of Sparta could call themselves Spartiates. Those were the citizens of Sparta, the ones allowed to vote, who reigned over the Periokos, the free neighbors, and the Helots, the servant class. Spartiates were the warrior class, disciplined by a system of rules that set them apart from other men. They were not permitted to own silver or gold, were not allowed to trade or take a profession. Instead, they trained their whole lives to serve the state, a training which only the strong, the cunning, and the tough would survive. Their bodies and minds were toughened by a lifetime of military drills and athletics. By the time of Xerxes'
That's one way to do it. Just beat the hell out of your body the whole damn time.
Well, I mean, that's how they trained. I mean, like, only the strong survive.
No, pretty much.
invasion, there were only around 8,000 adult male Spartiates. They were few, but they were professionals. They wore their hair long and a proud scarlet coat, and were capable of carrying out the most complex of military maneuvers with ease. It was already late July, and autumn was not too far off with the strong storms of the Mediterranean. Xerxes had to move if he wanted to keep up with his supply fleet. The Spartans went north to meet the Persians, but could only bring a portion of their forces, since the holy festival of Carnea was around the corner, which forbade the Spartan host to go to war. Only 300 Spartiates, led by their king Leonidas, were sent northwards. Each Spartiate was personally chosen by the king and had to have a living heir, since there was a good chance he was not coming back. Now, they were accompanied by around 1,000 Perioikoi and Helots, and were soon joined by other allied contingents, mostly Thebans and Thespians. So, around 3,000 men assembled at Thermopylae, the hot gates. Thermopylae got its name from being near sulfuric hot springs. In terms of technical warfare, the Spartans did not fight much differently than their fellow Greeks, but much differently than the Persians. The Greeks favored the shield wall of tightly packed, heavily armored warriors, who were to stand as a single block, relying on weight and solidity of their formation. The armor was extremely heavy, especially compared to the Persians. Corinthian bronze helmets covered their head fully, but for the characteristic T. Their composite leather breastplates and shoulder corselets were reinforced by metal scales and sheets. The large shield was covered with bronze and known as the hoplon, making the warrior a hoplite. On it, the Spartans bore the lambda symbol for Lacedaemon, the Greek name for Sparta. Armed with a 6-foot spear and with a sword for close-quarter combat, they were the most formidable of opponents.
Joined by the brothers of you against the fateful horde. Hellenic altars set aflame. The
Uh-oh. They didn't make it through.
No.
It didn't happen, but at least I get to skip it.
Unless
Well, the Spartan right flank was guarded by the sea. The left
Sabaton
was
gets
blocked
paid,
by the
though,
steep
so.
slopes of Mount Kallidromos. There was even an ancient wall guarding the pass. It was the perfect place for hoplite warfare.
We
Coming
almost made
south
it
from
through,
Macedonia,
guys.
the first
We made it
Persian
all the way to
scout
the
who
third one.
approached the hot gates told Xerxes of a group of half-naked men readying themselves for battle and seemingly unbothered by the large host assembling in front of them. Xerxes wanted them swept aside and ordered a frontal attack. Because of a lack of tactical choices and, well, a lack of patience, okay? On the 18th of August, 480 BC, the battle began. The Persian host, though, they were used to battles in vast open areas or in mountains, where speed and agility brought the advantage. Much of the Persian force was only lightly armed with short spears, daggers. They had wicker shields. Their main weapon was the bow, not the sword. Some elite units wore leather armor or reinforced jerkins, but most wore no armor at all. At first, the Medes attacked and promptly ran into a wall of gleaming bronze. It was a terrible slaughter, as their weapons could not penetrate the shield wall. The Medes withdrew without making much of a dent in the Greek formation. Next were the men of Susa, proud warriors who fired a hail of arrows into the hoplites before they charged over the dead bodies of the Medes. The men of Susa fared no better and broke like a wave against a rock. By the afternoon, there was a second wall. This time it was made out of corpses. Xerxes was losing what little patience he had.
Yeah, corpses. Love it. Ugh, the corpses.
Like the psychological, like you're going in and fighting this enemy, and all you see in front of you is just a pile of bodies, and it's like you.
Like, yeah, these are your other buddies that came before you. You're about to make it taller.
Against a rock. By the afternoon, there was a second wall. This time it was made out of corpses. Xerxes was losing what little patience he had in the first place, but clearly this was no ordinary force he faced. He ordered the immortals forward. The Spartans performed a feigned retreat, stopping and bracing only at the last moment when the enemy charged them. Then, after the slaughter, they again pushed and advanced a short pace to tear into the enemy. Spartans were made for this kind of battle. Xerxes, watching from his throne, is said to have sprung 3 times into the air out of rage that even his beloved immortals could not break the Greek lines. With heavy losses, the attacks were called off for the night.
Exactly.
By now, the Greek defense and defiance had caused a traffic jam. The whole host was halted by a few thousand men in the narrow pass. The Spartans and their allies tended their wounds.
Vicious Vices. If I'm sorry if I mispronounce it, man. If I was filmed by a drone and it was the actual battle, I mean that'd be horrific, but awesome.
In the narrow pass, the Spartans and their allies tended their wounds. They too had casualties, but not much compared with the mass of corpses in front of them. The next morning, Xerxes put more troops into the pass, promising rich rewards for success. It was another day of hard fighting, and the Greek line held fast. No hail of arrows, no frontal assault could break the defiant defenders. It was close to nightfall that the Persians learned of the secret pass over Mount Kalidromos that would lead to the Spartan rear. Now, this was, of course, not a secret pass at all. It was just a secret to the Persians, who, like all invading forces throughout all of history, did not have local knowledge. In Herodotus' history, this betrayal would be attributed to a certain Ephialtes, probably a local who simply told them about it for money. Leonidas had positioned a small defense on the pass with men from Lamia. He certainly would have preferred to have his trusted Spartans in that position, but he could not afford to remove any of them from the main battle. And though the men of Lamia had just one job, to keep an eye out and warn the Spartan king in time if the Persians were coming, they messed it up. They got totally surprised during the night. News that the immortals were upon them reached Leonidas too late. Their rear was in danger, and even if they fled, the Persian horsemen would pursue them. But since the word flight did not exist in the Spartan lexicon anyways...
Nope, that word don't exist in my blood neither. It's fight or flight, and it's always fight in my eyes. Sorry, I ain't never gonna fight. No, I was taught to never retreat.
Never back down.
Late. Their rear was in danger, and even if they fled, the Persian horsemen would pursue them. But since the word flight did not exist in the Spartan lexicon anyways, Leonidas offered his allies a withdrawal option, while his Spartans would hold the Persians off as long as possible. Send a message to Sparta to tell them how they died. Still, many men chose to stay with the Spartan king, so their numbers were still around 1,200 men strong. Leonidas told the remaining men to have a good breakfast, because tonight they would dine in Hades. With their lives now forfeit, they would go out to inflict as many casualties upon the enemy as possible. As the immortals appeared behind them, Leonidas' force formed a hedgehog of spears, and the Persians had to be whipped into battle out of fear of the Spartans. The final hours of the Spartans and their allies were hours of relentless battle. They killed and killed, driving the enemy against the mountain walls and down into the sea. They fought until their spears broke, their shields and their helmets were dented, and their swords went blunt. At one point, Leonidas was killed, and a savage battle over his body ensued. The Persians trying to claim his body as a trophy, and the Spartans desperately fighting for the honor of their king. It is said that 2 of Xerxes' brothers died in the attempt before the Persians retrieved the body. The Spartans defended themselves to the last, until overwhelmed by spears and arrows. They died to a man. There were no Spartan prisoners. By midday of the 3rd day, it was all over. Xerxes himself went down to inspect the battlefield. He cut off the head of Leonidas and impaled it on a spear for his army to see. The Spartans were mortal. The Spartans could be killed. But their last stand had given the Persians a taste of what was to come. Greece was not a pushover. The war was far from over and would eventually be decided at sea and on the battlefield of Plataea in Greek favor. But the last stand at Thermopylae, at the Hot Gates, was a symbol to the rest of Hellas, a rallying call, and a legend to stand through the centuries. As for the Spartans and their bravery and their might, after the war, there would be a plaque at Thermopylae bearing the words, "Tell them in Lacedaemon, passerby, that here, obedient to their laws, we lie."
That is a powerful term. That is a powerful term.
I'm really enjoying this history. Some of this stuff I didn't know.
Right.
As far as, I mean, you know, everybody knows like there was 300 Spartans and stuff, and you get into that, but to get into the nit and gritty of the before and after, and like the war continued after that, and how those 300 Spartans were honored, it's really interesting.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, oh, you're good, Peekaboo. No, you didn't miss anything. I mean, you missed the Sparta, but I mean, we still going along. We doing our thing. Well, we just finishing up this last third one, and Raven was explaining what he was thinking.
I was done.
Okay, so all joking aside, Sparta, I mean, it's a popular topic. Why? How did this develop?
Okay, so it's actually Joachim sitting in our studio and working, and I'm sitting in my office working in the same building. And he's working on a new song together with the guy Ken, who has been helping us out with writing a couple of songs over the years. They have some little idea. They ask me for my input, and I come over and I'm like, guys, I'm not hearing a metal song. I'm hearing the soundtrack to the movie 300. I hear the ooh, ah. In the song, I hear this, and I see it in front of me. And they were like, you're right. The song became very popular.
Right.
And it's a song I really love to perform live. And when we were performing it on the tour, we, of course, needed to bring a little bit of theater to the stage. So we brought Spartans. And we put Joachim in a helmet.
Like that?
Similar to this.
Wow,
That.
yeah.
He was wearing it, and he was wearing the costume, maybe not the only the...
Well, you know.
But he was wearing the helmet, and he was trying to sing the song. And he was always complaining because inside of this one, you will hear very, very strange noises, and it will distort your voice. And you can't really take the tones perfect or
So
hit the notes.
it did semi mess up the actual. You know?
Yeah, so Joachim was not really happy about singing inside our helmet, and since then we have not sing from a helmet.
But what about the
Not
actors
from a
playing
helmet.
Spartans and stuff?
They
That
were
must have been interesting.
Yeah, we had a couple of our crew members who really enjoyed it.
Yeah?
And obviously they needed, because they barely wear any clothes under that.
Oh, yeah, of
So
course.
they needed to be a little bit fit. So we needed to carefully select the toughest crew members who could wear the spears and the shields.
Look at that. Oh, look at those bodies, huh?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
brutal guys.
Look at
No,
the dad
that
bod
wouldn't have
on the
been big.
left. That would be me. Dad bod on the left. Hold on, let's
Crew
see.
members who could wear the
There he is. Love handle and all.
spears and
That
the
would be you.
shields.
Look at that. Oh, look at those bodies, huh?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
brutal guys.
No, I wouldn't have been picked. I mean, I look good, but you know. I think I'm older than any of the Spartans lived to be. Yeah, I'm 52 now. Those guys were long dead.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
everybody's
they were
into the
along there.
video right
Well,
now.
it was a tougher life back then. It was a brutal life. So how should we end? Should we say it?
We can do it.
Okay.
This is Sparta!
An amazing song.
Yeah,
All right,
I
everybody,
loved
that's it
the
for
song.
today. Hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Sabaton History Channel. Don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to become a patron, and see you soon.
And there it is. We got through 3 today, and we only had 2 ads. That's not bad. For almost 45 minutes worth of video, 2 ads.
Yeah, not bad at
That's
all.
not
Not
bad.
bad at all.
We got
All
this.
the histories were good.
Now, again, back to school, still sharing that link for the Discord server. It's going to be down in the description down below. We would love it if you guys would want to join this with us and come hang out, chill. We just regular people when we off the camera. We regular people just like we are on the camera, is what I meant to say. But anyway, this was what 3 of the 4 we went over this week. 4 is a little obsessive. I need to get me more coffee. I think that Raven needs to watch some reactions. And
Yeah, I've been skimping.
hopefully everybody out there has enjoyed the show. Hopefully everybody enjoyed learning everything that I just learned from the songs that I reacted to. I mean, I recognize definitely all the facts in the songs, and I got to show Raven two at least history to the songs that he hasn't heard yet, but he will know the history too now. So hopefully we'll come back again next Saturday. It's going to be an every Saturday thing, Sabaton History Saturday. Till next time, Vet Squad, Sabaton fans, everybody out there, as always, like I always say, stay safe, be blessed.